Well, hey there. Welcome to What the Facts, our companion show to What the F101. My name's Jake Young, and I'm super jazzed about the parasite episode. It's just full of really gross facts about the wriggly ways that parasites can get into your body and the violent, horrifying ways that they come out of them. And I wanted to learn more. And so in order to help us, we've enlisted the help of Kevin Lafferty, who is a senior ecologist at the U.S. Geological Survey. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
How do you think we handled the topic of parasites in the cartoon? Like, was there any glaring omissions that you noticed?
Well, I want to say it's very rare for me to work with somebody that would actually spend the time to animate wasps emerging from a caterpillar.
So right off the bat, I have to ask, what is like the juiciest, just grossest thing you've personally witnessed in nature? What fish is out there just getting its shit wrecked the hardest?
Well, you know, the animation of the isopod taking over the tongue, we see that. You know, you open this fish's mouth and there's these two eyes inside that are looking right back at you. It's super weird and disorienting, you know? So that's a nice one.
When the fish is caught, have you ever seen like the louse just kind of like pull the ejector seat and just scuttle away? Or like once it's locked in there, it's there for life?
Well, it can dislodge if it needs to, but it holds on. I mean, it worked hard to get to where it was. You know, it's got those sharp little hooks on the end of its legs, and it digs right in.
You know, in the show, we talked about Professor Foxtrot laid out how, you know, parasites are part of the great web of nature, and that, you know, there's these beautiful, efficient creatures that interact with us in this great swarm that we call life. But I am still having trouble buying it. What is it about parasites that kind of eke out people more than just, say, a tiger chasing an antelope or a virus kind of, giving you the flu? What is it about parasites that have captured our imaginations, specifically our nightmares?
Yeah, okay. So I think you're totally right to be skeptical. Even though this is entertaining, we can't ignore the fact that millions of poor people have been impacted by parasites like malaria, schistosomiasis, filariasis. Even though that's not part of our like day-to-day experience or risk to us as privileged, wealthy people in Western countries, we still, I think, have the remnants of evolving with the threat of parasites. I mean, if you think about it, if you just imagine a tick crawling up your leg, it makes you want to scratch. Or like I've got to hold my nose to go into a porta potty because, you know, the smell of feces is an indication that I'm at risk of being exposed to parasites. And so we've learned or evolved disgust as a response that helps us keep from getting sick. And that's perfectly natural, I think. That doesn't mean that they can't be part of the, big happy web of life. In fact, when we're on the same side as parasites, we benefit from them.
I'm sorry. Like, are you talking about how, like, in a bad comic book, sometimes Superman has to team up with Lex Luthor? Like, where are we teaming up with parasites?
Insect pests eat 40% of the production of agriculture around the world. And we can use pesticides to kill those bugs, or we can rely on the natural enemies like those parasitoid wasps that eat caterpillars from the inside out.
Speaking of stuff that kills bugs, I found this online. This is a cordyceps tea that was, if you're a fan of video games, you already know what cordyceps are. They were the evil fungus that turned everyone into zombies in The Last of Us. Planet Earth had like a whole gross sequence. Oh, it's the worst color. Oh, that's not a good color. Oh, no, Kevin. Oh, no. That's another thing that really freaks me out is, I'm a conscious human being. I am a sentient life form, endowed with various cool stuff like free will and smartphones. Like, how, like, can a parasite really, like, wriggle into my brain and control my mind?
Well, for sure. I mean, it might even be doing so as we speak. That's what's awesome about it. I mean, so let's talk about something that I think we can both agree on, which is that the rabies virus messes with behavior, right? We see it in rabid dogs. They're, like, completely transformed. And we know the same thing can happen to people. We just don't freak out about it because it's rare. At least it's rare now in human history. It didn't used to be rare in the past. There's other places in the world where it still happens actually pretty frequently. I work with this much more common parasite, Toxoplasma gondii, and we know from really good, solid experimental studies that this thing will manipulate rodent behavior, make the rodents less afraid of cats. The cats are key because the parasite uses the cat as a final host to complete its life cycle. And this parasite not only goes into rodents, it goes into people. And in some countries, most everybody in the country is infected, right? And so the parasite doesn't know it's not in a rodent brain, it's in a human brain. It still tries its tricks that work on a rodent. And so we know that this parasite can cause subtle changes in human personality. And what makes that really interesting is when you have a parasite that can affect personality, and if it can affect most of the people in one country and hardly any people in another country, then maybe that explains some of this cultural variation that we see around the world.
I'm not going to lie. When they first, when there was those headlines about toxoplasmosis on the internet, I was really hoping that was going to be just one of those things that like a year later, they'd be like, no, they tried it again. Never mind. So you're fine. Everything's fine. And I've owned way too many cats to not be freaked out.
Yeah. I mean, there's a decent chance that you're infected. I had myself tested before I wrote my papers on it, just so I could have a clear perspective on it. And at the time, I wasn't infected. So
okay, stop bragging. All right, I'm a cool adjunct at a major college. I do environmental work at the time in history where it's most needed. My brain isn't full of monsters. Good for you.
I don't have to share co-authorship with the parasite in my brain that way.
How does, like, on an evolutionary perspective, how does a creature like figure that out? Because sometimes it's really specific. I think this is another, nature documentary call out. Trematodes that would go into a snail and like literally turn their heads into giant pulsating like signals for birds to see, so that they can get it. Literally go from the mud of the earth into the sky.
Natural selection operates by incredibly inefficient trial and error. But if you do that over millions of years, then you can get to some pretty cool places. Like, I mean, you take the eye or wings or a barnacle's giant penis. You don't get there in 1 millisecond. It takes lots of trial and error to get there. So parasites are the same in this, like the example of the foxtrot's frog that's sprouting all these weird limbs. That parasite has lots of relatives and its ancestors too that just infected the muscles of frogs. Okay. Nothing special happens in most of those cases, but this particular parasite, by accident, ended up in the limb buds of tadpoles. And being there, they can mess with the production of new legs.
It was multiple legs. They make just legs where legs shouldn't be.
Yes, exactly. And so when that frog climbs out of the pond, it's more likely to get eaten by a raccoon or a bird, and that is the final host of that parasite, and that final host helps move that parasite to the next pond. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to complete its life cycle and it would get stuck. So those sorts of adaptations, we see them all the time in parasites, and we think that they're so unusual. But I think the way to comprehend it is that trial and error over millions of years gets you to some pretty strange places.
I need to settle my nerves. Let me just. Oh, that is sour dirt. Oh God. Okay. It's like vegetable stock that went bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, eating the spores is safe. You just don't want them to grow into your body through your skin.
Wait. No, that's the bug spore. They won't know what to do in me. Yeah, that's fine. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. And how can we follow your work and support it in the future?
Think about parasites, keep spreading the message. That's what we want to get people to know about, these hidden creatures inside of us that actually are pretty cool.
Kevin, that sounds like something a parasite in your brain would say in order to spread to more hosts. I suggest you get retested.
I will get retested. This is an excellent idea, but that could be the parasite saying that too.
Well, thanks again, Kevin. Well, that was existentially terrible. Hey, you've been watching What the Facts, and don't forget to check out What the F 101 on dropout.tv. Next week, we'll be covering self-experimentation and all the gross ways that it's been used to advance the medical community. And hey, speaking of self-experimentation, cheers. Oh, it's like a portobello nightmare in my brain. This was a terrible idea. We're not doing this bit again. That was bad for my mouth. We're done, right? We're done. Just get I need water!